The day my husband brought home a girl changed everything. It was a Saturday afternoon when James walked in, holding the hand of a young woman, bright-eyed, radiant, everything I wasn't. She couldn't have been more than 22. I watched, stunned, as he smiled at her the way he used to smile at me. "This is Emily," he said, voice casual like he hadn't just shattered my world. "I want you to learn from her. You've become a block of wood.
Claire.
No passion, no life. Maybe seeing someone younger, more alive, will help you." My heart stopped. The words were like shards of glass lodged in my chest, impossible to dislodge, cutting deeper with each breath. I stared at him, hoping this was a sick joke, but his eyes held no humor, only cold conviction. Emily smiled, oblivious. Or perhaps she wasn't. She walked around our home, my home, like it was hers. She laughed at his jokes, and he basked in her admiration. I was numb at first, watching them laugh over dinner, watching James touch her arm with an ease that made my skin crawl. How had we gone from late-night conversations about our future to this? How had the man who once swore to love me become so cold? Days passed and Emily stayed. She slept in our guest room, but the walls weren't thick enough to block the sounds of her giggling with James in the middle of the night. The pain gnawed at me, but I was too frozen to cry. One evening, James sat me down. "You need to be more like her," he said softly. "She's everything I wanted in you." And then it happened. Emily, sensing the tension, took it upon herself to help me. She began offering unsolicited advice: how to dress, how to speak, how to cook. I watched as my husband encouraged her, watched as she started to chip away at the remnants of my self-esteem. But one night, I overheard them. "You'll leave her soon, right?" Emily whispered. James hesitated, and for the first time, I saw a crack in his armor. "Claire's not going anywhere," he said, his voice firm but distant. "She's still my wife." In that moment, I realized something. I had been cast aside, but I wasn't gone.
Not yet.
The next morning, I packed a suitcase, not for me, but for Emily. When James returned from work that evening, I handed it to him. "I'm not the block of wood," I said, my voice steady for the first time in weeks. "You are. You were too blind to see what we had, too weak to fight for it. But I'm done." The shock on his face was satisfying, but brief. Emily stood behind him, wide-eyed, the suitcase between them like an unspoken ultimatum. I didn't stay to watch them crumble. The moment I walked out the door, I felt something lift, a weight, a life I no longer needed. And as I stepped into the unknown, I realized I was more alive than I had ever been. Months passed since I left, and the silence from James was louder than I ever imagined. I didn't hear from him, and I didn't care to reach out. I was rebuilding, finding pieces of myself I had forgotten existed. I enrolled in art classes, took long walks along the coast, and began to smile again. It wasn't easy, but each step forward felt like a reclaiming of my life. Then one evening an email arrived. From him. "I'm sorry," it began. I didn't realize what I was doing, how far I had lost myself. I thought I wanted someone else to change, but it was me who needed to change. Emily's gone. She was never what I wanted. But I see now that I've already lost you, too. I closed the email without replying. His words came too late, drowned in the sea of his own mistakes. For once, I didn't feel the sting of his betrayal. There was only peace. I stood at the window of my new apartment, gazing at the twilight sky. The past was behind me, and for the first time in years, I was free. Not from James or Emily or the hurt he caused, but free from the version of myself that accepted less than I deserved. In that freedom, I found something I thought I had lost forever. Myself. Thanks for listening to the story. Please comment your honest thought and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in the next video.